Hello, this is the Reluctant Marketer podcast. We explore marketing for people who don't want to do it, but feel they must. I'm Matthias Bohlen. Hello, dear listeners to the podcast. Welcome back to a new episode. Fab is today with me. I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome, Fab.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. So let's start with a little introduction so that our listeners can get to know you, can know what you do first.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Matthias. My name is Fab, like the ice cream, if anybody remembers the ice cream called Fab. Or, I know, right? It's a good one. It gets people to remember. Or Fabiana, if you want to try a bit of Italian. I am indeed Italian by origin. I know, right?
Perfetto. Possiamo parlare italiano, eh? No.
And then everybody who's not Italian can just get Google Translate in 3, 2, 1, just in case.
Yeah.
I lived in the UK for the last almost 14 years. And I came here studying languages, and then I progressed into different things, and I kind of stumbled upon or fell onto a marketing role way back when. We go back 13 years now, so it's been quite a while. And I loved the job. I was really excited to be able to kind of stumble into this career and learn from it. And then as I progressed, I changed obviously paths. I became an entrepreneur, so I was working for myself. It's now been 9 years, so I've been doing this for a very long time. And I started just supporting people with coaching and consulting. And now at this moment, what I do, I combine the marketing knowledge with my passion, which is helping people make a positive impact and try to make a difference in the world. And so I started a school a couple of years ago because, Matthias, I was bored apparently. And I thought that would be a great thing to do. Chilled. And, but despite being a lot of hard work, is my passion. I love it, and I just love connecting with students and with people. And so if I can help you making marketing more fun and easy to approach today, then pretty much my job is done.
That's so cool. I saw this on your homepage already, this making marketing more human. I really like that. What's the idea behind that, making it more human?
I think it's coming from listening to our audience, which is something that I'm sure you talk a lot about as well. And we all talk about the understanding what our audience thinks about, and even maybe some of the things that they struggle with. And one of the biggest misconceptions that we have about marketing as professionals or entrepreneurs or new marketeers even is that marketing has to feel like you're pushing yourself onto somebody you know, I know you talk about being the reluctant marketing side of it. And so when we bring back to what marketing should be, which is it should really be about building a relationship and allowing people to choose, directing people, so not even persuasion, directing people towards the right solution for their problems, which hopefully if you've done your work and your homework is you, then it should be a relationship between humans. And whether it's two humans, whether it's multiple humans. And when you look at it that way, there's two big problems that our students have. Marketing is boring and marketing feels sleazy. So we decided to put it into our messaging. I know you resonate, and I'm probably sure that a lot of people tell you that as well. You know, we really wanted to work on that and creating frameworks that will help eradicate that thinking. Because if that's the mindset, you're never going to be able to feel confident doing your marketing because it's always going to feel off to you.
Yeah, exactly. I can so much relate to this because for me, as a rather modest, non-bragging person, marketing always felt like bragging, right? Like pounding the drum, tooting the horn, etc. All these metaphors that it's about making noise, right? And I like it very much when you say it's a relationship between two or more people and you're directing, not persuading. I really like that. Yeah, it's a good viewpoint onto marketing. I love that.
To be honest, I think I learned that mainly from hearing some of the ways people perceived what marketing was, especially when they entered it, whether it's because they were marketing their services or because they wanted to enter in the industry and they were like, I kind of like the idea of being on social media, but I don't like the fact that I have to sell things. And I was like, well, if you're a marketer, you kind of have to grow your company or the company that you're working for. So at some point, you have to talk about what you offer. That's the idea. And so when you reframe that, that can help you putting yourself, as you say, it's not about making noise, it's not about bragging, it's about providing some value, which I know everybody's like, Fab, I know that. But it's also about letting people know who you are, whether it's a brand or whether it's an individual, what makes you unique, so that you can attract your people. Because let's be honest, Matthias, nobody wants to work with somebody that they cannot connect with, because it will make the relationship really hard for both of you, right? You want to work with your people. I want to work with my people. And the people that tolerate me dancing in the middle of the lesson because I get really excited. These are the people that I want to attract. So I want to make sure that they know that that's what we bring to the table, and then they can make their own decision.
That's interesting. I love that. It's a good. It is kind of liberating, right? It's removing the burden from marketing. I never found marketing really boring, but I always found it stressful. Like, I love to build stuff. I love to build software, for example. I'm a software engineer and also a solopreneur. And if you're a solopreneur, then you have to do your own marketing. There's no other person doing that for you. And after a while, I encountered somebody, I don't remember who it was, who said, if you don't share what you have to share with the world, the things you are offering, then nobody will know and you won't have any business. I said, that's obvious, but it somehow stuck, right? Because if you don't market, if you don't do anything, nobody will know about the stuff. So it's pretty obvious that you have to do marketing. Let's try to get a little bit further into it. What kind of students are coming to you, and what are they seeking to learn in Alt Marketing School?
I love it. That's an excellent question. So some of the things that we sometimes think about, and this is something that I want to be applicable to anybody listening, is that our students think that what they want to know is a very specific goal. For example, very obvious one, I want to grow my Instagram account. I want to grow my Twitter following. I want to get more sales.
Okay.
Which is fair enough. And that's the first bit of conversation. The good thing is that a lot of the people that we attract are also very interesting in that human piece, that value-driven, purpose-driven. But when I talk about their goals, that's the first thing that comes. And then what they realize that they need as we're progressing through any of the courses, any of the training that we do, is that actually what they love and they need is the foundations and the frameworks that can help them, achieve that specific goal, but maybe even learn how to set better goals, or even how to set up systems and ways for them to make their marketing, again, less stressful, less overwhelming, and more natural to them. So we always feel like we're kind of going for specific trends or tactics or buzzwords, which is great. You want to grow your LinkedIn? Cool. I love that. But bringing back to the fundamentals of marketing, which are so much rooted in psychology, that's what excites the students. So it's almost like having the conversation of be like, I know that's what you think you need, and that's great. But what about giving you the confidence to know and the clarity to know that regardless of what your goals are, you can show up with confidence and you know exactly what to do next. And this comes from great foundation, and that's the beauty of real marketing. It's not just about social media. It's not just about email marketing. It's about where do they come from, and that's kind of what we love to teach them, as well as obviously all the cool things that gets us all sparkly eyed and things like that.
That's cool. That's cool. So it's not about views. It's not about impressions on some ads. It's not about email subscriber list size and so on, all these things. But it's more about how do people behave, right? How do they perceive your brand? How do you make them want your brand? So it's really deeply rooted in psychology. You were talking about systems, a marketing system, or systems for marketing. What do you mean by that? What could be some examples?
When it comes to systems, there are so many ways that we can look at them. The way that I like to start, especially when people feel overwhelmed, is kind of understanding what are the repeatable activities that you do within your marketing. And the reason why I like to look at it that way is because it allows you first to reflect about what does marketing mean to you and what does it look like for you. Yeah. Because the beauty, especially if you're a small business, especially if you're a solopreneur, or again, if you work with multiple clients even, you have the choice to decide or to direct yourself and the team or other people that work with you to the channels that you want to tap into. Obviously, there's lots of decisions you have to make to choose your channels, but also some of it is like you enjoy being on the channel, you enjoy creating content for it, whatever that might be. So this is kind of where you understand that systems will be different depending on which channels you focus on, and it might be that they change, because if you're looking at email marketing, your systems might be different than if you are very active on social media. But it kind of creates a system. Sorry, it creates a system. Derp. It kind of creates templates, and it creates processes. That's the word I was looking for. That you can use for any area of your marketing. That you can tailor to that area, and then you can go back to again and again. And as things evolve, it doesn't matter if there's a new trend, if there's a new format, if there's a new feature. There are some things that you can get back to, that you can come and make your life easier. So they're all about the processes that we do, which the funny thing is, like, I don't know if you have it as well. You're a developer, you're an engineer, so that's kind of, I'm a Virgo.
Yeah.
Not that it's similar, but it means that I like systems. So as a Virgo, I get excited about mapping out what I'm doing. Most of our students dread it. That's why we do it together, because we make it fun, and that's the problem. We actually already have. We already have systems in place.
So people don't like mapping out their systems, becoming aware of them, and thinking about them.
It's a lot of work. Unless, again, you do enjoy it. I like to geek out about it. I like to simplify them, to streamline them. But for many of us, especially creative people, our idea people, and potentially a lot of people listening are like, I have ideas. I want to do things. I want to try things. So we want to act and we want to do. And that reflection piece can feel like it's stopping you, it's slowing you down. So that's not like you don't want to set up systems because you hate them. Most of us don't even know that we already have processes. We just have to break them down to repeat them again and again and again. And that's why a lot of it is mindset more than anything else, and allowing that slowing down to reflect on what are the things that I keep on doing, how can I do them better. That's literally how it starts.
That's so amazing. It reminds me of when I do my YouTube videos recently. I publish them every week, and there's a kind of repeating system behind it, right? You said that systems have to do with the repeatable things in your marketing. For example, on YouTube, I always have to write a script. Then I have to record the A-roll on camera. Then I have to search for some B-roll video, some nice stock footage, for example, from the beach or everything, to illustrate concepts that I mean. For example, recently in a video, I used the concept of running and encountering runner's high. This emotional state that you have after some running, and I compared it to marketing. When you do marketing at the beginning, it's really exhausting and you're stressful and so on. And after a while, if you get used to it, it can even be fun. So I used the runner's metaphor. So I had to search for some video on running. And I had to look for music, for special effects, for text, and so on to put all this into my video. And all these editing systems I have, how many sections does my video have? How many takes do I make on camera? And so on, all these things. Yeah, that reminds me, this must be a system.
Can I ask you a question, Matthias? Can I put you on the spotlight?
Yeah, why not?
Amazing. This is a simple question, actually. I'm making it bigger than it is, but do you have, let's start with the first question before that is, do you have a to-do list or a list, kind of like a checklist for the things you do during the day of the week?
Not too often. For some things I have that. For example, whenever I want to publish a newsletter, I have a checklist what I have to do in that case. But for example, I really should do something for those YouTube videos because it's always the same. I should have a checklist. That's
what I was going to ask you. So thank you for answering, because that's where I find it's so fascinating. Now that you know, and I want anybody who's listening to the same exercise, think about one thing that you're doing, which you think is a task, but is actually a project. From the sound of Matthias's list of subtasks or tasks that you have to do, it is literally a project. So think about that as a mini project that you repeat every single week.
Yeah.
And think about doing it now, maybe without a list or a full breakdown. And then what I want you to do, dear listener, and Matthias, is write down the full checklist of that project. And what it does, it completely shifts your perception of actually how involved it is and how much effort it takes. Is not a negative thing necessarily. It just allows you to be like, this is actually a big thing. What can I do to make it better? And also, how can I give myself enough time to do it in a way that doesn't make me feel like I'm rushed or overwhelmed? But until we break things down and we simplify them and we see them, for most people, it's just a task. And I'm like, that's not a task, man. That's not a task. That is a collection of lots of things that you do. So, you know, marketing is a collection of lots of projects that we repeat again and again and again, and we tweak again and again and again. And so if you don't have a place that has got these systems written down to start with, it's really hard for you to make it better. So maybe by writing it down, Matthias, you realize that you can systematize better or even categorize better your current B-rolls and stock videos so that it becomes a lot faster for you to find them in the future. You know, things like this can really snowball. Maybe you have a Notion list of all the different After Effects that you use and for what, so you can quickly click and refer to them. Little things like this can be built, but not until you have the awareness of where your time is going, especially when it comes to marketing.
Yeah. And it also, you don't have clarity about it. For example, when I write down all those tons of things I have to do for creating a YouTube video, there are tiny little things like, for example, on the left side behind me, there's a lamp shining on me because it makes me stand out from the background. If I forget that lamp, okay, it's not a tragedy. Okay, I can live without that shining light, right? But the video is somehow better if I don't forget the lamp. So little things appearing on those checklists are really necessary. So we have these systems. What I sometimes do is I think about what do I need as an input for my systems. That comes from software engineering, right? Software is input, processing, output. So I always think about what inputs do I need, what materials do I need, what tools do I need, and so on. So could this be added to a marketing system? Could you write that down? Does it make sense to write that down?
Yes, 1,000%. What I love to refer to when it comes to systems is the PARA method, which is PARA, from Tiago Forte's Building a Second Brain book, because it works so well. And actually, that's what we talk about in our lesson. We have a lesson about marketing systems in our certification, which is at first the most dreaded. When we get in it, people are like, oh my God, there's so much. And then afterwards, I still get students telling me after months, be like, I'm so happy. I stuck around and I did the work for that class because it saved me so much time. And use that PARA system. And the PARA system has projects, areas, resources, and archives. Again, get Tiago's book if you want to check it out because it's great. And I really love the idea of having that like tools and resources really handy for you to kind of get back to. And that almost becomes that, talking about software, that database, those different databases that you can pull from. And it's not just the tools that you use, let's say, to edit the video. It could be, as we talked about, the B-rolls or some of the music that you use a specific time during a video. So it can be a lot of different things. I find that that's also where breaking down kind of what things look like can be beneficial for you if you're always going to do things by yourself. But either if you have a team or you ever want to outsource some of your marketing to somebody else because you actually want to focus on your zone of genius, which might not be fully marketing, which is fine. It's so much easier to outsource when you have these tools and these resources and also kind of these simple instructions broken down. And so many people look at me and they're like, why do I need instructions if I'm going to do it all myself? And I always say at some point you're hopefully going to evolve. You know, in your journey, hopefully you're going to evolve. You can let go of some of the smaller tasks. But unless you fully automate them, which is an option, if you're going to even outsource it to somebody else to lighten the load, you're going to save so much time. Oh my God, I've done this for 9 years. So much time working with other people when you have those instructions and those references in place. So it helps you, but it's also going to help you as you grow, which is my hope for you as well.
Yeah, that's right. No, but it's not only about outsourcing. I think it's about different persons in the same human being. For example, when I write down, when I'm planning new content, let's say for the next quarter or so, I'm a different person than the person who is how do you say it in English? Executing on that plan, right? So planning and execution are two different states of mind. So I almost have to write down my systems so that the other person that I am in that moment still understands them. For example, when I wrote my content plan last week for the next 3 months or so, I made sure that every line in the database had some notes like, what is the idea behind the article? What's the main topic? What's the 5 most important points for that topic? And what's the call to action at the end? So in 2 months, for example, I will have forgotten all of this, right? Totally. And so then I'm a different human being, like almost, who needs to learn from the content plan. It's so amazing. I encounter that every time.
Actually, I love that, and that's a great point. Thank you so much for sharing. So I'm gonna do a little swing in my chair, which if you're listening, you can't see, but you can feel the swing. She swings.
Yeah.
She swims back. There she is.
Yeah.
And I always bring the book up because, I mean, it's my book and I'm proud of it. It's called Reclaim Your Time Off. So I do like talking about systems.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm also a writer. That was my dream. That's what I was. And, you know, I got a couple of published books now. So yay, officially. But as a writer, I agree with you so much, especially as writing, because again, I create content and I always have because I've always been a writer first. That was one of my dreams.
Yeah.
And even as a writer, I had to remind myself, and I read it again last week, that you have to wear different hats when you are creating content or creating drafts, and you have to be in a completely different mindset when you are proofreading or editing your content, because there are two very different tone of voices. And also, again, this is where your writing might actually not reflect your personality if you're self-editing as you're writing. So if you're writing more freely, or even recording content more freely, you actually get your personality across. But trust me, somebody who's been writing for a very long time, if you are constantly self-editing as you're doing it because it's more efficient and then it's quicker for you to publish it, you're actually going to lose a lot of that magic that comes from your unique tone of voice, which is so important in marketing as well. So I love that, and I agree with you. I think it works really well with systems, and it works really well with marketing in general and content in general. Wear the different hats, separate them, because then you're going to use different sides of your brain in a much more effective way, and you're not going to miss any of that magic that comes from your unique storytelling self.
Yeah, that's totally true. When I'm in planning mode, I'm a different Matthias than in writing mode and in editing mode. It's so different. Yeah, exactly. So what do you think were the most important systems that someone who, let's say, wants to become serious about marketing, right? So this stage where somebody has seen, if I don't market, I don't sell. So I need to do it. I bite the bullet, right? So what do you think would be the most important 1 or 2 or 3 systems that such a person should put in place?
See, part of me, the over-delivering me, wants to give you 2 or 3 systems. But then Fab the teacher is like, no, we're going to give you 1. Why?
1, okay.
And listen there, Matthias, because I would really like you to try and set up your own version of this one. So that's 1. But if you do it, and you do it right, and you get it done properly, that will be plenty. Because honestly, there can be lots. And the good thing is that a lot of the systems that I even talk about in the courses and in the training can be used for different channels, as I said before, in different platforms. But the one that I think it's so important to have, especially if you want to treat your marketing seriously and you want to use it for very clear goals, like selling a product or building advocacy or loyalty with your customers, very goal driven. One of my favorite ones, which is a bit more understated maybe, is a marketing experiment dashboard or page or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it dashboard because they're fancy. The reason why I like to have a place for me to run my experiments as a marketer, because I believe that marketers should be scientists and should be investigators. Curiosity is a huge skill of marketers that people don't talk about. So when you actually get better at your marketing, when you try things and also you often fail spectacular at them and you learn from them and you do it better next time. So if you don't have a system to track that, it's really hard for you to know what works and what doesn't. It's really hard for you to, again, that reflection piece coming back, reflect on what you need to make better. And it's also really hard for you to action all of those experiments or ideas. So the beauty of that one system, see, I'm already cheating on myself, I'm already giving you 2 things in there, is that first of all, you will, right? First of all, you want to have almost 2 pieces in there. You want to have a place or let's say like a page or a sheet where you can collect ideas that could be great experiments for you to run. And then obviously you're going to have the one place or the one, if you were using Notion, I would do it as a one database. I would just make it fancy. Where you would then have another place within that database where you can actually run the experiments and reflect on them. It kind of works in 2 ways, but instead of being just a place where you collect all the inspiration of the world, I like to actually categorize my inspiration. Is it for content? Is it for other things? So we'll just have one happy place where I can write all the cool ideas and tactics and strategies that I see. Then going back to our hats, one day that I have a hat that is less about excited fab hat, I let it mature like a gorgeous gorgeous piece of cheese, Italian coming out. And then I choose some of them, I look at them, and it might be that you look at that strategy that you thought would be a great experiment for you to run with your community, let's say, last month, and you look at it and you're like, no. It might be that you still feel like, actually, this was great, I really want to try it. And so having a place for you to write down, I'm going to try this, I'm going to give it a month or 2 months or whatever it is, and this is what I would like to see. It helps you becoming a better marketer because it teaches you how to look at what works and what doesn't in a more objective way. And also how to celebrate some of the things that you do and repeat them if they work, you know? So that would be a 2-in-1. You know, there's an element of collecting the data and collecting the ideas, specifically for running experiments. So trying new types of campaigns or strategy for a specific goal. And then also having a place for you to then kind of write down what's happening. And within that, one more thing, I put actually in my to-do list, I guess, and reminders, I put every single week to check the progress of my roadmap and my experiments. So I kind of look at what's happening and what I'm happy with and what I'm not happy with. So I put it in my diary so that I know it's happening. And it's been one of the things that has transformed the business because it's been so much easier for me to stop doing something that wasn't working because it wasn't just working. Instead of me headbutting, you know, after 3 or 4 months and be like, well, I need to do with this. You don't have
trying
to.
once more and trying once more. Yeah, right.
You know, it's finding that fine balance. That will be it.
Yeah. Interesting. So to summarize, let me try to find out my own words for this. Well, there's one part of this marketing dashboard or experiment dashboard that says, okay, what did I plan? What would be the ideas that I should run an experiment on? And the other part would be tracking the success or failure of those ideas, right? Of the experiments.
Exactly.
How did they work? Did they have an impact? Did they have no impact? Did they have a negative impact? And so on. So yeah, I can understand that because otherwise you simply start the next experiment without evaluating the previous one. And it's, you don't learn. I think that's the main problem. You don't learn then. Yeah.
There's also something to be said, actually. That's a great summary. On that note, sometimes we also be like, this worked once, high five to me. Let's jump into the next thing that this said person that I look up to, which is amazing, did, and they shared, and they were like, try it yourself, and I want to try it. And it's fine. But also, like, if something worked really well, you can repeat it. At some point, maybe it's going to stop working, which is fine. But I think that's the other thing. Don't be afraid to redo a type of event that brought lots of lead in your business, or to retry a type of format that people are really resonating with. And I think it's harder for you to do, it's easier for you to do it when you can actually see and you can get back to it instead of jumping to the next thing without really thinking about all the other things that you already know that your audience loves, you know? And it can be a bit of a shiny object syndrome. So that kind of helps you fight that a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Shiny object syndrome is all the way present for me every time or every minute. It's so crazy. That brings me to one question that I always have about marketing. In software engineering, for example, when I write software, there's a very clear cause and effect relationship. If something doesn't work, it's my fault. I simply have to investigate, find out what's going on, and then I fix it, and then it works. In marketing, I think it's not so clear to me. Was it a good headline that I wrote? Or why did people not open those emails? Or why was this tweet that I sent out, why was it so successful or such a failure? Tracking back to the root cause is very difficult in marketing because it doesn't depend only on me and the machine, but it depends on the other people, right? And people are kind of unpredictable, or less predictable than machines. What would you say? Do you have any mechanisms, any good practice for tracking back to the root cause, like why something was successful or not?
There's a couple of things. Excellent question. The first one is understand the variables. I mean, talking software speech, or more like technical speech. Look at the variables as well, because for me, a tweet being very successful versus not being successful can be as much about the people consuming the content as the algorithm also potentially boosting it because of a specific format, let's say, that the Twitter is pushing at the moment. It's a bit like if you take Instagram, which is another platform that is heavily algorithm based at this time, or even TikTok, those are also great examples. Like some of the content will be pushed beyond belief, even if the content is not necessarily the best, just because of the right audio, the right format at the right time. So that's the thing, understand your variables, because it's not always a case of your audience. And so that's why another thing within that, which probably isn't less about like a proven thing, but is another way of reflecting on this, is ask yourself, going back to, let's say, the headlines, for example, ask yourself, is the headline lack of success, let's say, is this due to a specific symptom or a root cause? Let me explain. For example, you think that your headline is not performing well because you have very low open rate on that email. But then the problem is, if you don't actually track your average open rate of your emails, then you think that that's the norm. But maybe if you are tracking, you figure out that actually all of your emails are very low open rate because you have a lot of, I'm going to say some big words now, but you have a lot of core subscribers that are completely unengaged. And so you actually need to clean up your email list. And that's another problem. A lot of people are like, oh, my content doesn't resonate. And that can be, for example, that can be one thing. But then sometimes you are mistaking the symptom for the root cause. It's like, actually, the problem is not that. It's actually that you need to refresh, you need to clean up your audience, or you need to refresh other things, or you need to improve your deliverability. So I always say there's two things I already mentioned. So definitely understand the variable, the first thing that could potentially affect the success, and choose whether you're happy to go against an algorithm or things like that. Secondly, understand the symptom versus the root cause. So, that's why I like to track growth or track stats, which again, analytics person, marketer. So I like to see the data because it helps me understand if it's an anomaly or if it's just how things are. And thirdly, to help out a bit more, because these are very big things to do, but on a smaller level, is also human behavior is not that unpredictable if we look at the reason why we do things. So if you look at psychology, actually, there are specific reasons why we tend to respond well to urgency or scarcity. Now, your choice is how you're going to do it in a way that, in my opinion, should be ethical and should be, it should be done in a way that is not sleazy, so
artificial, right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there are the things like, so yes, in some respects, humans are predictable, but when it comes to going back to the psychology, how we think, we're a lot more predictable than what we think we are. It's just going back to that, instead of looking at just trends and what's happening right now, is actually understanding, okay, what does your audience feel as a pain? What will be one of their gains? These things, the beliefs, the pains, the gains of your audience, these are very much rooted into behavior. It's just about, Matthias, that's the kicker, understanding what these are. I'll tell you one more thing. One more thing is that the people are unlikely to tell you, if you ask them, the reason why they don't want to do something, or they do something, or they commit to something. So, for example, for me, I learn more about what my students want or how to get more students into the school by our live sessions when our students are already paid and they're committed, and our normal chats within that, than I would do when I'm doing a survey or when I'm asking them directly, when I'm listening to what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These things.
This is kind of a natural versus artificial situation, right?
Exactly.
If you run a survey, it's more like a lab situation.
You know what I mean? And that's, you do what you can, obviously, but just to explain, that's the fourth thing. It's not just psychology. It's also going back to some of these things that your audience really wants or really doesn't want, that are very deeper than just the surface. When you get to those, it's very likely that if you tap into those, your content, your emails and stuff, they will really speak to them. They will really kind of jump out at them, and then they will get them to open or to engage. So there's a lot of things that I give you in this one, but all of these can be valuable. It's just kind of to understand that that's the problem of marketing, is more complex than we think. And this is why I like to start simple, but just kind of stepping back and kind of starting with the foundations, because that really, and that relationship piece really helps with that.
Exactly. That's a really important thing that you say there, because otherwise people become overwhelmed. They say, at least 10 or 20 things I have to look at now. And I always say, no, just keep it simple, keep it, slow. By the way, slow, I got feedback on my YouTube videos that I'm talking too slow. because on YouTube it's the fashion to talk very fast. There's even software that that real YouTubers use to remove all the pauses in speaking. So yada yada yada. That's the style of a typical YouTube video, and I don't like that. I hate that. And I got two different feedbacks. One is from people who also like that and say, yeah, finally someone who makes a pause at the end of a sentence. And the other people who say, no, please talk. I always run your videos on 1.25 or 1.5 the speed. So it's so crazy.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, so. If they prefer it that way, just get the speed up. I genuinely find that you're never going to make everybody happy. Like, and that's the other thing that you need to realize. Right? You know what I mean? So I think it just, you doing you and knowing that some of the people that kind of consume the content actually like it this way because that's how you like. You like to consume it yourself. I think we need to give ourselves a bit more credit to actually do that and also create stuff in a way that we enjoy. Obviously, feed the algorithm, feed what people are looking for because that's what is there. But also, you do you, boo. God damn, I want to use GIFs. I'm going to say use the GIFs, even if I'm 30 and apparently it's a very old thing to do. I don't care. I don't care. I'll still use GIFs.
Okay.
Just putting it out there.
It's so much fun to have this conversation with you. I enjoy that.
Pleasure.
Okay, so marketing systems, human aspects of marketing, psychology, keeping it simple, all very important things here. How do you measure, or if you measure it at all, how do you recognize progress with your students? What would you say would be a good thing or a good effect that one of your students is accomplishing?
You mean as in, just to kind of explain, you mean throughout the courses and like seeing that the course is working for them, or you mean with their marketing specifically, just to understand?
Well, both. First, they have to grip what is in the course, and then they have to translate that into action. So how do you recognize that somebody's really making progress?
Excellent question. So we like to give tangible things. So whether if you're doing a self-paced lab, which are shorter courses, they're part of our library, then with that you have smaller projects. So I always have a project. So smaller projects are for shorter courses, and libraries, they're very kind of specific to the topic. So they tend to be usually one thing. I always have a bit of a workbook, but that project is really where allows me to see kind of how they felt about it, what they grasped about the topic, like our brand archetype lab. They actually create a one-pager with their archetype and all of their brand perception. So that, again, kind of tells me, first of all, it's good because I can give them feedback too. And then you magnify it with our live training and cohorts. And regardless of which cohort you do, you will have then obviously bigger projects. So for our 8-week certification, it's they have a marketing plan they present at the end of the cohort, which is going to be, at time of recording, this week. So it's graduation week. So exciting.
Wow.
I know. That's why this Monday, I was saying before we went on air, this Monday feels like a Monday. But I'm excited. Monday. And bless them, though, on top of that marketing plan for the 8 weeks, they also built up to, at the very minimum, we build 5 systems together at the very minimum. So I'm talking about a map of their systems, and then content systems, and then their brand manifesto, and then we look at OKRs and goals. So we do a lot of things, and then we have smaller kind of reflection points, but we also build some systems together. And on top of that, for that specific certification, we have a marketing plan. So that helps us see the progress, what they learned, what they applied. And the beauty of it is afterwards, whether they use it for portfolio, if there are marketers looking for a new career path, if they're business owners, they can use it for their own brand. And if they're consultants, for example, they use it for clients. So it's great because they actually have something tangible they can go and use afterwards. To me, the best proof, though, is after months kind of then coming back to us and being like, I'm still using our system, or, I'm still doing this thing. And I'm like, yay, it means that now they can feel a lot less stressed and a lot less overwhelmed about one specific thing. That makes me really happy.
That's a good thing to hear. If somebody comes around and says, yeah, I was successful, I'm still using it, I'm still doing it. Yeah, that's really good thing to hear. Yeah, I run out of questions now. So from my point of view, it would be time to close. But if you want to go on, pleasure. Yeah, always a pleasure.
I would say no. I would say I think more than anything, I give a lot of things to do, and I try to restrain myself because that's my problem. But I just want to reiterate a few things on the notes that I talked about. Find one system. Again, I told you about experiments because I think it's maybe not like, a content calendar. It's something a bit different. So find one system, one project that you think you can really break down. That will be my thing. If you want to, like the teacher in me comes out and needs to give homework to poor listeners. Are like, why? Sorry, I apologize. No, I don't. But
no, it's good.
Like,
it's good.
Find that project or that system that you want to maybe work on based on what we talked about. And I would genuinely say track numbers and track your growth in a way that it's simple. And maybe, again, it can be a follow-up episode about tracking and stuff because that's a whole conversation in itself. But that will help you, if anything, start feeling a bit more confident about, we talked about how do you measure whether things are working or not and what's successful. So start just tracking. Choose for your favorite channels and platform. Choose even just 2 things that you can track. Make sure it's not just followers, please. 2 things that you can track just to start out and just to kind of feel a bit more in control. You can't grow what you cannot track. It's as simple as that. So I would say these are the 2 things. Get more familiar with breaking down a project for yourself or a system that makes you feel more in control. And then start looking at where your efforts are going a bit more. These 2 things combined can really, really help you even just getting started with setting better systems, feeling more aligned. And obviously, again, then you can do the small things to build that direction, to look into those pains and gains, and to build that relationship with your audience as well, as a layer on top of it.
Excellent. This is a fantastic summary. So, our listeners have some homework now. No, that's really good because you should have something if you listen for so long to such a podcast. So I want my listeners to be content with what they hear, right? So they have something to do now. Fantastic. Fab, thanks for being here today. I enjoyed it. I love to chat with you, and I wish you very much success for Alt Marketing School and everything you do.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, you can find me at FabGiovanetti, that's long. So Fab Giovanetti on any social. If you have any follow-up questions or things I talked about that you want to get more clarity on, just shoot me a DM or a comment in there.
Cool. I have to put that into the description of the podcast notes or of the YouTube video, so everyone get your social handle to contact you afterwards. Thank you, Fab, for being here. Bye-bye. See you next time. Thanks for listening to the Reluctant Marketer podcast. You can find me on Twitter at BodenLabs. That spells BOHLENLABS. Or you can send me an email to matthias@bodenlabs.com. If you want to support this podcast, please share it with a friend on your social media networks and leave a rating in your favorite podcast player app. This will help other reluctant marketers find this podcast as well. Thank you very much for listening today, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.